This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
Welcome back to the Lyndsay Stafford Show, featuring local legends here in Middle Tennessee. I'm super excited to have, I feel like I'm always super excited, but my friend Kraig Speckert is here with us from the Payment Exchange. He is a local business owner here in Middle Tennessee, and we are going to talk about credit cards, which is not that fun. But then we're also going to talk about, well, it's fun.
It depends on
the
which
way
end.
we talk about it is going to be fun.
Spectrum you're on.
That's true. That's true. But we're also going to talk about what that business has allowed Kraig to do. And so if you're interested in investments in terms of real estate, this is going to be a really fun episode to listen to. So Kraig, thank you for joining us at the studio here at the Lyndsay Stafford Show. Very excited to have you.
Yeah.
I'm going to just kind of call out the elephant in the room. You're from California. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off.
Was it my boyish good looks?
Just rip the Band-Aid off. But you know what? We're happy to have you here.
Yes, thank you and I can't tell you how many people have welcomed me to Tennessee.
It's
weird by itself, but it's also very welcoming and it's warm. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your business, the Payment Exchange.
So we process payments for businesses, and we've done so for more than 23 years now. And we have a loyal following of clients that, obviously support us, but moreover, we just go out of our way to help people understand the way the payment systems work and how it would work best for them, and so that they can make the best decision for their business. And fortunately for us, I've been in so many situations with business owners that, I know that we're the right solution, but we don't always get our name called. And so out of every engagement, we always try to leave them a little better than where we found them, whether it's we offer them additional supportive services or tell them that, it's probably best you stay where you are, is an out for us in that type of environment. But moreover, I think that we're just here to help people understand how it works and how they can do better for themselves and how they can readdress or reapply some of the monies they're naturally spending to other aspects within their business that we don't control or we don't want to manage. But, if we're saving somebody $500, $600, $800 a month on that particular service, and we can deliver it better, faster, less expensive, and they get the support from an expert, that should be enough.
Absolutely.
And that works out well for us.
So a lot of business owners, so you help to process payments on credit cards for businesses. So anyone who takes a credit card in business could use your service.
Absolutely.
And what makes you different is you are the differentiating factor for one, right? That personal service. For sure.
Well, not just me, but it's the knowledge and the expertise that I've acquired over the last 20 plus years of doing this. We were at one point, we were what they call a licensed ISO and an MSP, Independent Sales Organization, a member service provider. And I carried that letter and designation and marquee for about 10 years with a very large international company. And what that afforded us is a really, for those agents in the world that don't know how all this works, business owners or people in the circle, that gave us an incredible entree into what the back office looked like, an exposure that we never had as agents in the past. And that really opened my eyes, not because we got to make a little bit more money, but we also got to take on some risk. And so the more risk you take, the more rewards you get. And we've been burned, and we've also benefited as well. So there was a time, though, here in 2018 that, I forego that license any longer. I didn't want to carry it because the benefit didn't really carry the water anymore. So, I've been on both sides of the house in the industry, and I very much like the agent side because of the flexibility. I don't like the corporate structure of the heavy loads and the heavy reporting and the audits and the risk profile reporting and all of this other stuff that comes with it, more minutia than really anything, because I just want to be able to go out and help. I don't want to have to be responsible for the reports and do all this other stuff. I don't do well in a tight structure like that. I'm more of a freelance, free-spirited West Coastian, if you would, who understands that business very well and who knows what it takes to help somebody. I just need them to allow me to help them.
Isn't that crazy sometimes how you're like, I know I can help you, but you just need to listen. Like, can I just force you? Yeah. And you oftentimes are able to come
Such
in
is
and
life.
It's like we're always talking to the teenagers. I know
That
I
was
can help
running
you.
through my mind. Like I've got to be their parent, but I can't. And in one case, in particular here in Tennessee, I helped a furniture store, and based on my experience, I didn't know they were getting crushed. I just knew that they felt like the cost structures they currently had were a bit oppressive. And so when I was able to, analyze what they were doing and find out about their business process, and I discovered that what we could do for them versus where they were was a major discrepancy. In other words, we could really help them. I think we're saving them about $10,000 a year. But the difficulty is delivering that message without them saying, well, how can you do that?
Right.
And you got to pace yourself a little bit in these situations, and you have to understand what their expectation is. The majority of the folks in my industry, they would say, if there's $1,000 to be saved, they would say, well, we're going to give you $100 off. But that's not how I operate.
Yeah.
I'll take the 100 and then you take the 9. That way it's a major advantage for them. And they not only can appreciate and go to sleep at night, if you would, knowing that they've gotten a great deal, but they have the right company.
And then it's that you do, and this is a theme for the business owners on my podcast.
Yeah.
If you do what's right and you take care of the people you're taking care of, they'll take care of you.
I mean,
right?
I'm taking phone calls. I take phone calls all the time on my phone from people that need something really quick. Or, Kraig, it's just a really quick question. Do we have a chargeback coming in? Because I see my account being debited $1,762.12. And I'll go, is that a normal sale for you? Did you do a refund? Did you do this? No, I didn't. Okay. It might be a chargeback. Just kind of prepare yourself mentally if it's not your first. If it is your first, here's what to expect. And then I discuss what card issuing bank's responsibilities are, what our responsibilities are, what the document and the paperwork is for, so on and so forth. So when they get me, they get a wealth of knowledge and they get a wealth of care that ordinarily they wouldn't get if, say, they were to go to, pick a competitor, go online, sign up, hope it's good.
Right.
The box arrives. I still have to I have to plug it in. Okay, now I'm learning technology.
Call the 1-800 number.
And then when you get the phone call and you're on it and you're listening and you're trying to engage and interact, and it's nothing against the Philippines. Hello, my Philippines people. But sometimes there's a language barrier depending on where their support staff is, and not everybody that signs up for that expects that. And
I remember being a store manager, and this is way back.
Just a couple years ago.
Yeah, last year. No, many years ago, I was a store manager at Bath and Body Works, and they still have the best candles and soap.
That's right. Shout out to Bath and Body.
Yes, Bath and Body Works. I do buy local candles too, and local soap. But we would have to call. It was like a nightmare to get somebody on the phone. So, okay, I want to rewind. How did you get into that?
Which part? The credit card
Credit
business?
card processing, yeah.
So I was in the software and web development business for about 7 to 8 years. Well, not that entire time, but for about 8 years, respectively. I had various roles in computer companies, in sales typically. I worked for a .com when it was the heyday of .coms that were popping, and we were in the web development space. And I was an agent, not an agent, I was a salesperson, same difference. And so we had a number of clients that were in the .com space, and we would have to engage and interact with banks because that was a component of the e-commerce site that we were building, the shopping carts, so on and so forth. And back then, that would really be the best avenue, the best trusted avenue to go and get credit card processing set up for the website. The bankers that I would engage with as the salesperson on behalf of my client to go out and do this, that, and the other thing, they didn't understand the business. They didn't understand how these pieces fit together. And so being somewhat technical, I was like, well, we're going to get this letter from you, and there's the gateway that you're going to set up. Who's going to set up the gateway? And then we'd have to talk them through this depending on their level of expertise. And so, I just kind of got, I wouldn't say disenfranchised with the process. I was slightly startled that they didn't know more.
Sure.
So, this was in the late 90s. And so I had a different role with a different company selling consulting service. I was selling, Lotus Notes software, which back then Lotus Notes was on its way out. And of course, Microsoft Office was all the rage. But Lotus Notes in the financial sector was one of the only products and programs that were out there that actually recorded, per the SEC rules and regulations, was the only program out there that recorded the chat that they had. And if you're in the financial world, any communication that you had inside or outside of the company had to be documented. Well, Lotus Notes was the only one. So my point is that that's where I was. I was selling that.
Sure.
I was dial and smile in Fortune 500 phone books. I was just in it, and I love to dial and smile anyway. So I ended up doing that, and then I didn't really sell too much, unfortunately, and so they canned me, which was fine. It wasn't the last time I was fired, I'm sure. But the fact is that I was without a job for about 6 months, and so I was looking around for something to do. And my neighbor at the time.
Did you have a family then?
No, I was a single.
Okay.
I was a professional bachelor.
Nice.
So I had a car payment and a house payment. That's all I had.
Yeah.
So I had a neighbor at the time, and she was in the credit card processing business. And so we literally shared almost a driveway. And she said, "Hey, Kraig, can you go run this up to this particular location, and can you install this for me?" I said, "Sure, no problem." I wasn't doing anything that day. And I did it, and I was on the phone with the tech support. And then I went on a sales call with her. And I was sitting there watching her engage with these customers. And then we were finished, we wrapped up, and we got in the car and we left, and she told me what she was going to make on the deal. And I wasn't working for 6 months. And I go, "Oh, okay." Because she leased equipment. And that's where you made your money in the beginning years of this business. I go, "That's all it took, huh?" And that was the last time I talked to her. That was it, game over. And so I ran headlong into it. And then I started to, after the first year, it took me a solid year to get my legs underneath me, to afford, just to be able to pay the tax that in the first 6 months I couldn't pay, because I had to live on the money that came in, and I didn't have any reserves because I lived on I had to eat, and I had a car payment, and I had a house payment. Thank God it was only like $1,500 total, but still, I didn't have the $1,500. Right. I had $5,000 in the bank for 6 months, and I was beans and rice, like Dave Ramsey says,
right.
rice and beans,
beans and rice.
That's my game. That's my guy.
Is that why you don't like restaurants? From those 6 months?
No, I love restaurants for business. I just don't. I just like to know what I eat.
Yeah.
At any rate, with that said, so I was able to create some relationships with some banks, and that's where it took off. So
your back was up against a wall, which we find this a lot.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't have a choice.
Good. The struggle is right.
Right. So then you decide to launch in, and it's like, I don't have a choice, so I'm going to make it work.
So I had to lose some friends over that too.
I want to talk about that, because that is something that does not get discussed enough on here.
Yeah, it's real. It's you have to shed in order to grow. And that's it. I can give you many analogies of that. I can give you different versions of it, but there are people that can't see past you, or you can't see past that friendship. So you have to elevate.
Well, in that situation, and obviously I've been there too. Everyone who has changed their life, it loses people because of it. And especially when you stray from the norm of society, which it is a job, is what the norm in society is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I say that every time. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you are not that person, and you go the route of, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to risk, and I'm going to take these, this different route, it changes your relationships with people for several reasons. One, because when you change, they recognize that their life is going to change, because you're not going to be the same person to them, and you won't fill that same role in their life that you may be filled. But they also recognize that you're changing and they're not.
Correct.
And that opens up a whole nother can of worms. And you have to be so strong in your belief in what you're doing that you don't let that impact you. And that is enough for most people to stop. Yes.
No disagreement there. They can't see past you. You can't see past the friendship. It's the equivalent of a professional bachelor getting married, and that circle that he traveled within has to change, because you've given yourself over to this relationship as the primary now. And if you have some good buddies you go out and you have drinks with, and you party with, you have a good time, you can continue that for a while until such things change in your life that are important enough to make that change. You have to make that change. I know I did. I wouldn't. I would go back and replay it all again.
I was just going to ask: is there any friendship, or is there any relationship that you would have changed what you did to save? No.
No.
I would agree with that.
No.
From my end too.
And in hindsight, some of those relationships and friendships, they have come back because they too have found, that spot for themselves or that place where they feel most comfortable, where they now can communicate with you. It isn't about money. It's not about status for me so much, especially now. I mean, I'm just Kraig, just here to help.
I want to ask you about the circle of friends now. What do you talk about when you are with the people that you like, when you're just hanging out with friends? What kind of things do you talk about?
So if I know somebody is struggling with something, much like a conversation with a stubborn child, you kind of got to get yourself you got to wedge yourself into that conversation or insert yourself into there in such a way. I have friends that ask me questions about what I'm doing, how I'm doing this, or what my experience was with this, that, or the other thing, and I'll let them know what that is, and I'll just be as plain as I possibly can so that they understand, and I'll do it from a loving place, because they need help,
right? But the conversation isn't about talking about other people or talking about the news or gossip or what's happening in politics.
It depends on the friend. I have my hardcore political friends who are on this side or who are on that side, and depending on my feeling of the day, I'll ring them up and poke them, or I'll ring them up and we'll have a mutual conversation.
I'm guessing you do more of the poking than the mutual conversations.
It depends. It depends on the friend. It depends on the friend. It depends on how hot the last conversation was. I mean, there are some people. Take my dad for example. I bet him $100 that Kamala Harris is going to win. Now I don't per se want her to win. I want the country to win. I don't care who's in there, so long as we're all, getting our fair share and doing our right things and paying the least amount of taxes.
I was going to say, we don't talk politics on this show.
Too bad. But to that point, we'll talk about different things, things. And my dad, of course, will ask about my son, my daughter, my wife, et cetera. And we talk about a variety of things. But to my friends, we mainly I talk a lot about investments.
Well, that's where I'm going. I think when I think about, and you knew it because you and I we're on the same page there. But the folks that you talked to and what you talked about prior to where you are today and prior to launching your own business was probably vastly different than the conversations that you have today.
There was 100% less strategy and more about, hey, you want to catch a beer after work, or what are you doing later? Let's go play golf or something like that. Yeah. It was very, very much, in the moment type of conversation, as opposed to strategic, this is what you need to be thinking about. This is the different programs and policies that you need or what have you. Yeah.
So you talked about investments, and this is something that you're passionate about.
Oh yeah.
And most people don't know that about you because it's not something you talk about a lot, but there's an opportunity for education. Okay. I have real estate too. It's, not as much as you do, but it's a piece of the future, and I love that piece.
Yeah.
So for the listener who is maybe interested in investing in real estate and, kind of going that route, maybe not just the traditional, just investing in the stock market, you're going to really like this conversation. And I want to hear, Kraig, talk to me about how you got into that space and then a little bit about your journey through that.
So, I bought my first house when I was 25. So when we were kids,
I think I was 23 when I got married, and we bought our first house in early 2024. Or no, not 2024. I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah, early 2024 would be weird, since it's 2024 now. But I was 24 when we bought our first house. So
I bought my first house in 2007 for investment, and what we had, fortunately, was a failed business that caused us to have a tax benefit, if you would, because we lost about $125,000 on this business. So that next year, we didn't really have to pay too much in taxes, and then we used that offset of 125 to buy our first house. Now, this was pre-total crash.
Yeah.
And
07, right before.
Yeah, so we had enough saved money because we didn't have to pay it out in taxes because we had a major loss.
What business was that?
So I owned one of my clients was a tile franchise.
Okay.
And so I was doing their payment processing for that. And so I was able to see what they were doing and had a really good angle into what the revenues were. And I knew the owner really well. He was one of my, one of my first, I'd say 15 or 20 clients. And so we became friends. And he was such a nice guy, still is. And I still do his business now. With that said, I managed a location from afar with little to no infrastructure to tell me what was going on. I had the infrastructure and intel from the payment processing down on other locations, but not. And while I had it on my own, I didn't have the other things that I needed to know,
Sure.
which is he really there?
Yeah.
Or did he forward the phones at the bar again? He would forward the phones to the bar, drink himself to pieces, and then sell my stuff out the back door.
So it was tile.
It was tile and granite, yes. Okay. So we had a major loss, bought the house, bought my first house on a particular street that, my in-laws lived on. And my father-in-law, he was a contractor and did concrete work and built houses. So it was a perfect setup. If I needed something, they were just down the street and they can go look in on it. So it was perfect. About an hour away from where my wife and I lived.
Okay.
So we bought that house and we paid cash for it. And it was $70,000. So I put in, I always bought a really crappy house because the bottom end of the market always rents. The middle and top end takes time to rent. And I'm actually in that process and stage right now where I've bought better than bottom houses. They're all brand new here in Tennessee, but they're above, they're nice places, but they're also expensive to the extent that other folks around the area can afford it. So in the beginning, when we bought the homes that, were, needed to be fixed up, that were super overgrown, that stunk like cat urine or dog fecal matter, whatever, I loved those homes because nobody would buy them. And then I would go in and I'd bring my team in and we would go and we'd clean them up, clean them out, and we'd paint them and we'd put floors in and we'd put in, whether it was electrical or plumbing or whatever it needed, we would have that fixed up. And so we would have these really old looking houses that were really nice and cute because in college, those are the homes I lived in. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like. 40s, 50s, 60s style houses. And on the West Coast, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Here, they're everywhere as well, but they're just different style. There's a lot more brick out there. There's a lot more stucco.
Right.
So with that, that's what we started to buy. And so I would buy one a year, maybe two, as 08, 9, 10, 11, 12 came on. We had 20 places.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you in 08 and 09 and even 10, were you able to capitalize on that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like some of the old timers that I would talk to who've already been through these cycles of real estate, they would share with me, if I had your energy and some of your money, I would go and loan myself to the hilt and I would buy as many houses as I could and worry about paying them off later. And that's sage wisdom and advice that I did not take. I did it the way I bought them cash and I owned them and I didn't worry about it. Today, what we own is all paid off and I don't worry about it. Even though I have 6 vacant, I could really give a crap.
Right.
I mean, I could.
Of course.
And of course I want them rented.
Sure.
But I'm not going to, stress because I don't have the mortgage. And I don't have a relationship with
you got property taxes. I mean,
well, that's what
it.
I have.
Right.
Property taxes and lost rents.
Yeah.
Check the box.
Right.
And depreciation, thank God.
Right.
So
I want to, you started your first business with credit cards, then you started another one, learned from that one, was a failure, but you were to take that failure and turn it into a win by purchasing your first rental property. And then just snowballed that into, okay, so the house is paid for, so the revenue that I get, I'm just going to put that all into another house.
Correct.
And continue to build the legacy of those properties that you have. Would you have been able to do that, do you think, if you hadn't started the credit card business?
No, not even close.
What were you going to do? What did you go to school for?
Journalism.
Interesting. So nothing.
I wanted to be a concert promoter.
I could see you doing that with like a wig on. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you saying I need a wig?
No, I mean, I'm just saying I could, like back then. I mean, if you want one.
I mean, hey, listen.
So when you think about that in the investment property and properties that you own now, that you've been able to do that in a way that is peace of mind because you
Absolutely.
don't owe on them.
It's a wonderful way to sleep.
It's a great way to sleep, right?
Oh my goodness.
Now, what advice would you tell someone that's wanting to get in that space? It's a different world now because it's 2024. It's not 2006.
Right. Things are really expensive.
It's just a different space.
You have to find that next up and coming market. I like bedroom communities. I like really distressed properties. If everybody is handy, they just don't know it yet. I mean, there's so many videos out there that you can watch on how to take a countertop off, how to paint a cabinet if you need that. Lipstick is one of the best things in this world that you can do to a house. Paint changes everything. I would find that house that's near being condemned or smells like a litter box, and that's the one you step into and you buy. I mean, sticking to your feet, whatever.
Is that how you bought all of yours?
Yes, the beginnings, yes.
But not now.
No. Now I'm a bit Thurston Howell the third, where Lovey and I walk in and I'm like, it's brand new, Lovey, let's get these, you get 3 or 4 at a time and you get an aggregated deal. And there's a particular subdivision that I'm buying in right now that I know the developer and we have a relationship, and he knows that I've sold out of the West and I'm in the Southeast now, and my money is really good, and it's I'm that guy that he wants to have in his wheelhouse when stuff comes available, because I'm going to go in there and say yes, no, or maybe. And I've bought 15 places from him, so it's good.
So what advice would you give to somebody besides buy the gross, disgusting house? If they want to get started, what's the first thing? Just
be patient and live well below your means. Everybody wants the bag, the wheels, the car, the this, the that, but that's just fake. I mean, it's just not right. I mean, it's right. It's right for you at the time, perhaps, but it's not what's going to make you money, and it's not what's going to get you retired sooner than you want it to be.
So you have to give up things.
Imagine it.
To gain big time on the other end.
Yeah. As the old "Giver's Gain" slogan we're used to hearing.
Giver's Gain.
Yeah, and you just have to. If you came from, forgive the terminology, a highfalutin background, then you're going to want to go invest with some of your Ivy League friends and do some of those types of things. But if you're a grassroots sort of person, you'll buy single family and you'll continue to invest in those types of things. I have owned multifamily. Multifamily is great. You're always going to have some attrition as part of the portfolio of clients that you have in there, or customers or tenants rather that you have in there. But for what I'm looking to do, I'm looking more to have something for my kids.
And you have already done that. You've already been able to do that.
And they're part of it.
How do you bring the kids in? I know we have kids the same age.
Yeah, exactly. So what we do is we save money for them every single month, and we give them an allowance, and then we give them a portion of that allowance, and then we curtail the majority of it to another account, let's say some type of CD, and then it'll gain some of the percentage rate that it does. But then over a period of time, we've taken their money and we've coupled it with some of our investments. And then, say for example, they had, let's say 45. Well, okay, they had 45,000 apiece because I had saved, for 9 to 10 years for them. And so they had 90,000. So they came in on a deal for 300 with us on a purchase. We ended up selling that house for 477. Well, they killed it. I mean, as a percentage against their initial investment, they did really well.
Yeah.
So they walked with 132 against 90, which is a good gain for them.
Tremendous.
And then we rolled that into another investment, and we have regular meetings about their money, about what we're doing with it and what the plan for it is, so that they understand that this is important, and it's not just dad or mom saying, this is how you need to make money. What we're doing is we're illustrating that to them. And since I work from home, I mean, I'm up before they are. They go to bed well after I do. I mean, hell, if I'm not in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, somebody better check the temperature outside.
Yeah.
But for me, we have meetings. We have regular meetings with them. We let them know what's going on. I need them to be used to the number. I don't want them to be shocked at, $100,000. 40 years ago, 100 grand was a lot of money. Now it's, if you're not making that, I mean, you're going to struggle a little bit to make it, piece together.
At least right here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there might be a change coming forward. Who knows? But, from a mathematical standpoint, getting kids used to the money, getting kids used to what it looks like, hearing it a lot, knowing what it is, taking them to the job site, showing them that this is what we're building. Literally, we've had some just finished here about 3 months ago. There was 4 units, and then we bought another 3 because those were also in conjunction. And take the kids there. This is the ductwork. This is an electrical panel. This is where the laundry chute's going to be. This is where the water comes in. These are the hot. This is PEX pipe. This is this type of pipe. This is this schedule that on the plumbing and such. So I'm exposing them, a little bit. To that side of it, the construction side of it, but I'm also exposing them to the mathematical side of it in terms of what it can be. And we do that with their college fund. We do that with, they don't know everything that we have, but eventually they'll get there. I mean,
but I have the pleasure of having the experience of working your son with me, who has, what I saw when I met him was driven, hardworking, and not afraid to do the work.
That's right.
So you're raising the kids to understand how to have work ethic, and it doesn't matter what you already have, you still have to work for it.
I mean, my kids pay me insurance payments. I get it on my phone. It's great. Of course, they've had 4 wrecks. And the insurance is really high.
I was going to say,
never mind going from $3,500 to $9,500 for an annual insurance. But they're part and parcel to I mean, my son goes out and washes cars and earns money, and
he does a great job. By the way, he is the one that details our cars.
He's super solid,
and he's also a great athlete.
Yes, he is.
He plays basketball at Page High, and works really hard for that role.
And so my daughter does the same. I mean, I just got her payment the other day. I don't ask for it. I mean, I did. I let her know that was her responsibility, but I just get a little ding on my phone, and I look at it.
Good job.
She gives me a wink.
It's like ding with the wink right there.
Right. So she knows, I mean, and she has a responsibility, and she understands what that is. I mean, there's only some, with the way we bring them up, my wife's a stay-at-home mom. None of this can happen without her.
Right.
None of it. And, she's awesome. I mean,
so you guys are doing some amazing things with your kids, and somebody listening to this might go, well, wow, I'm so far from that. And how do I
just jump. Just jump.
Just start the conversations.
Well, start the conversations, change your mind a little bit, pay yourself first, do all those things, live cheap, handle roommates as long as you can. And then when you got to go, you got to go. But, you got to struggle. That's the game.
Success is found through the struggle, right?
And you find out who everybody is around you when you struggle. Mm-hmm. Those that pick you up, those that call you, those that talk to you, those that want to help you. Then there's some that want you to go back to the old life because it's just easier. And it is. It's easier. It's easier for both parties, but that's not the path. That's not my path. It is not that I'm meant for something bigger than you. It's just that I want to do something bigger than just be a bro that can drink 12 beers with you over the course of a night and feel like the next day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Been there, done that.
I cannot say that I've ever done that.
Okay, well, thank you. But let me just tell you, as a professional bachelor.
But I was not a professional bachelor.
As you shouldn't be, no.
Yeah,
no.
I was married too young to be a professional bachelorette either.
Okay, well.
So.
Didn't you get married like after 6 weeks of knowing him?
Well, I got engaged after 3 weeks.
Oh, that's right.
3. But we did get married after 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, so five months.
And you've been married how long?
It'll be 19 years.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's great.
I don't have, I don't know what I thought when I was 23 because when you're in that space, it's like,
no.
So I just say, praise the Lord that
Thank you.
Well,
you got matched up correctly.
Right.
I got matched up early as well. I just didn't realize it until I was 30.
Were you dating for a long time before?
In between, yeah.
Oh.
I just didn't know.
And she stuck with it.
No. I can't say that.
Well, she's here now.
Well, yeah, of course, yes. But I mean, we weren't dating she was my high school sweetheart.
That's a beautiful story. We had a lot of those in our family too, actually.
Yeah.
A lot. My parents, my grandparents. I mean, there's a lot. It's crazy.
When you know, you know.
When you know, you know, you know.
But I wasn't ready to commit. I mean, I obviously was at that time.
You were still a professional bachelor.
Well, yes, but I wasn't willing to commit to that life. I was in sales. I was traveling. I mean, I was in a plane through, away from the place in the Bay Area that I had for. I was basically renting a room from this guy who was never there. He traveled 3.5, 4 weeks a month, it seemed, and I was traveling 2.5 to 3 weeks a month for a software company I was working for. So I was never around. I saw this guy. His name's Bob Graywall, great dude, and I would see him in passing. I would see him literally maybe twice a month. I would just leave, my rent payment on the counter, and then that would be it. And it would be mysteriously be gone within a week, and I would never know when he's there, and he would know when I was, my bags were either there or they weren't. So it was a great parking spot for me for a little while, but yeah, it was a good experience, of course.
But you weren't in the place to settle down, and now you are, and you've done some great things. And what I love is the legacy that you're leaving for your kids, and how you're implementing the lessons that you've learned and teaching that to the next generation. You have a lot to offer and a lot of great things to share here. So
thank you.
You talked about, for somebody who wants to jump in, just start. Just start.
You have to start if you're not the type to invest in yourself. If you're not reading books to help yourself, because college teaches you a few things. College teaches you how to write the paper and how to respond and how to go to class and these types of things. All these little wonderful things that mom and dad should have taught you long before you went there, but you didn't pick it up. Or if you did, great, you're continuing to be successful. But college doesn't teach you to make money. College teaches you where to put the debit and the credit. It teaches you about economics, teaches you about this type of theory, that type of theory, and that's wonderful. It's good to get your mind around different experiences so that you can be a better human being or a better employee eventually, because that's effectively what they teach you to be. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is a variety of experiences that cause you to say, I've had enough. And that's when you got to get out there and go get it for yourself. And everybody and their mother is already self-employed. They just haven't ever thought of it that way. That's one of my dad's comments. And it's 100% accurate, because if you keep a job for more than 6 months, you're self-employed. That's how it is. Otherwise, if you keep one for 2, 3, 5, 10 years, 15 years with a company, that's awesome. They love and appreciate you. But guess what? You could have done that exact same thing for yourself. And it just takes a little bit. Go ahead and fail. Just please fail. Please fail.
Because then you move forward.
You'll have that life lesson. Continue to push.
Absolutely.
Please fail.
And on that note, thank you.
Yes.
For all your wisdom today. Thank you for sharing. It was great. I appreciate it. I want to be like Kraig when I grow up someday.
Yeah, maybe.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.